Welcome back to the Williams Elleby Howard Easter YouTube channel. I'm Joel, this is Jared, and we are talking about Halloween 2025, baby, and all the ways that you can get hurt, or you could hurt somebody else, and meaning how you could get sued this year. So pay attention to this video. We've got some tips for you that may help you not get sued, to make sure your property is secure when the kids are running around all over. If you're in our neighborhood, Cobb County, Kennesaw, getting candy, and when you're out on the roads, when you're going out to dinner and all those kind of things. But also we'll talk a little bit about what happens if you are injured, or if your child's injured, the options you have to address that situation. So let's just kind of go down a list of the common things and types of cases we've handled dealing with Halloween events. Jared?
There's a lot of possibilities, especially this year. It's on Friday night. It's going to be fun.
Yep.
I would start with, from the perspective of, trying to make it safe for the people that come to your house. Keep in mind with the decorations that you do put up, be mindful of safety involving those. Don't assume that every kid's going to use your walkway and get to your front door. Your whole entire yard is fair game, which is interesting. If you're putting up blow-ups or you're putting up decorations, there's going to be guide wires or ropes to hold things down. Generally, you want everything to blend in so your decorations look good, but at the same time, you want to be mindful of where kids could be traversing. You don't want to make it too much of a problem. Obviously, you got to have things with your decorations, but be mindful of where those ropes are, where things are, how dark it is, fog machines, all of those things. While they're great, I do the same thing. But you need to be aware of where they're at and making sure that there's safe ways in and out of your house, your yard, and so the kids aren't tripping and falling over everything everywhere. Yeah, normally when a child comes to your house for Halloween to ask for candy, that's great. We all enjoy doing that. But they're going to be considered an invitee, meaning you have a duty to keep your property safe, but it's not as high a duty as if you owned a business and you're paying customers for coming in. So in the state of Georgia, they're usually going to be considered what we call a licensee, which means that if you have a known hazard, like a hidden hazard in your yard, you need to protect against that. So like if you've got a hole in the front yard that's this big and it's kind of hard to see, especially at night, and the kid runs through it, steps in it, breaks their leg, and you knew about it, well, that's a problem. Or if you create a hazard. So Jared was telling me earlier about an example of somebody that we live in the same neighborhood, somebody in our neighborhood that likes to sit on the porch with a chainsaw without the chain on it and rev it up when the kids run by. But he's also got these blow-ups with strings that come out down around in the yard. And when he turns that chainsaw on, it's funny because the kids lose their mind or run away. But when they can't see where they're going and they fall over those strings that he put out there, a hazard he created, that could be a problem if somebody got really hurt. So just try to keep those things in mind when you're preparing for children to come to your home. We don't say this to discourage you from having kids come to your home to get candy, because that's great. It's something we've all done. It's something we enjoy. But do keep it in mind that you're not creating any unnecessary hazards. The second thing I would think about is driving and kids being ideally, they would all be on the sidewalk, but we know that doesn't happen. They run from one side of the street to the other, house to house. Lots of times in some neighborhoods, there's golf carts out on the road. So if you're coming home from work, on Halloween and it's getting dark, just take it slow and be aware that there might be kids in the road, there might be golf carts, there might be whatever going on, but just use that extra caution, because, if you hit a kid and hurt them, then it's going to be really hard for you to avoid responsibility for that on Halloween. So just keep that in mind when you're driving, to use extra caution. And, for us too, it's a holiday. This year it's on a Friday night. A lot of people like to drink on Friday night, do other things on Friday nights. And so you kind of have to be aware and careful for your own safety as well, anticipating where you can that other people may be under the influence, other people may be doing irresponsible things that could result in an injury to you. So, be careful if you're driving, be careful if you're walking around the streets, and just, use a little bit of extra caution. Yeah, I think there's, and maybe not legally, but in my mind, I think there's a bit of a heightened duty if you're driving through a neighborhood on Halloween night. If it's a random Tuesday and you're driving through a neighborhood and a kid darts out in front of you and it's dark outside, that's a it's a tougher case from the kid's perspective. What's he doing? Why are they out there? Why is he crossing the road? What could have you done as the driver? It's unexpected. But if it's Friday night, it's Halloween, everybody knows that every neighborhood in Kennesaw, Cobb County, throughout America is just going to have kids everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot harder if something bad happens and you, God forbid, hit a kid. It's a lot harder on Halloween night to say, I did not expect this. How was I supposed to know this kid was coming? I think a jury looks at that and says, you should have known, because everybody and their brother is out on Halloween. So, drive the speed limit, do what you can to try to look out and, keep it safe for everybody that's out there.
Yep. I would say the third thing I would think about is dog bites. If you have a pet or if you have a dog that can be aggressive when spooked or surprised, or when somebody comes and knocks on your door, rings the doorbell, or if you have a fence or where the dog tends to get out, just make sure that you have your dog properly restrained for Halloween, because kids are going to be running all over the place, ringing your doorbell on your property. And if you have an aggressive dog that jumps a fence, dashes out the door when you open it, attacks a kid, attacks an adult, whatever, that could be a big problem for you, especially if your dog has demonstrated dangerous propensities in the past, growled, barked, bitten other people. It's just something to think about, that sometimes you might be worried about your decorations in your yard. You might be using complete sense and not drinking and driving. That one mistake of letting the dog dash out the door or not securing he or she inside of a fenced-in area could be a problem. So just think about that.
And a fourth thing to think about along the lines of drinking is Halloween parties in general. It's Friday night. It's a good night to have a party. There can be some liability if you're having a party, even if everyone is of age. If kids aren't of age and they're drinking or partying at your house, that's a whole other problem. Yeah. But even if it's all adults, 21 and over, drinking at your house, you do need to be mindful of over-serving people and making sure that, if you are going to have a party like that you do it responsibly. If someone was to come to your house, drink too much, drive away, you could be held liable as a social host for serving them, over-serving them, and allowing them to leave your house and go if they were to get into a wreck and injure someone or kill someone. Some of that liability, while they would be at fault, could also, flow back to you, depending on what happened at the party and what responsibility you had in providing alcohol or monitoring the situation. So I think that's something that people forget about a lot of times, especially in a private setting. But there is liability there if you host a party at your house and you're providing the alcohol and it's abundantly clear that someone had way too much to drink and shouldn't be driving. Some of the liability for that can come back on you if something bad happens. So we love Halloween parties, but just keep in mind about being responsible as to how you serve your guests when they come.
Yeah, if somebody's stumbling out your door, wiggling their keys around, maybe stop them, get them an Uber, a Lyft, something to get them home safely, and then you can work out how to get their car home later.
Especially these days. With Lyft and Uber, there's no excuse.
There's no excuse.
Throw somebody in an Uber and send them on their way.
Send them on their way and get them their car the next day. I think that's the main 4 situations that I've seen with Halloween. Is there anything else you can think of, Jared?
No, not offhand.
Yeah. I guess maybe one other would be touch on products liability. Like when you get costumes and you're wearing these costumes, especially for smaller kids, being mindful of strangulation hazards and things like that. We don't see that a whole lot because most companies have sense enough to not design dangerous costumes anymore. But there's always bad ones out there that could design choking hazards into a costume. So just be careful with that when you purchase your child's Halloween costume this year, that there's no choking hazards or recalls or anything like that on it. And if your child is hurt by a hidden hazard on the costume, then you might have a product liability case to look into. But don't get rid of that costume if you think that's an issue. But I think that's it. Otherwise, if you don't have anything else, Jared, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and that little bell so you get alerts when we upload new personal injury videos. But we appreciate you spending time with us today and hope you have a happy and safe Halloween.
As personal injury lawyers, we love what we do, and we're happy to share the experience we've gained in personal injury law. To help our family, friends, and YouTube subscribers, we've shared over 300 personal injury videos covering various injury topics. So if you'd like to gain more knowledge that may help protect yourself or a loved one when you're on the roads or out in public, check out our channel or view our playlist of shorts for quick personal injury tips.